Hello.
Hi, hold
You
on.
played a show last night?
Yes, it was amazing. It was with Brad Marino and the
Was this
Nervous
Tiger Bomb?
Tiger Bomb. Yeah,
Tiger Bomb.
yep, and the Nervous Eaters, and all three bands together were just incredible. The songwriting was just amazing. Like it's been one of my favorite shows in a while. And good crowd, great place, the press room in Portsmouth. Good,
Know it.
really good sound, and I hope they have more. I hope more people go to Portsmouth. It's a really cool little town. Lots of tourists in the summer, though.
Random question.
Yeah,
How's Carissa Johnson with the Nervous Eaters?
she was really good, very good. I think she fit right in. I mean, they're timeless. So it's they. Yeah, I think she's a great match. And that was the first time I heard their hit Loretta, and it just blew me away. It was so good. I bought the single.
Is that the first time you saw him live?
No, I saw them about 10 years ago when they played with the Real Kids up here at Gino's.
Oh yeah, Gino's.
Yeah,
Portland.
in Portland. And they were good, but that was like 10 years ago. So it was it was great last night. Like I said, the sound was great, and um yeah, it was just such a magical show, and everybody just had a big smile, and that's what it's all about.
It seems like since the pandemic, shows are so much better now. Everyone realizes they have a new lease on life or something, It's incredible.
Yes, yeah, and just so grateful that we can, be out there and play again. I mean, us as a band, we're like, when are we going to be able to do this again? And play. And it had been about a year since Facebook told me about the Whistle Stop Rock show, and that was kind of like everyone's last show many people's last show in Boston before the pandemic. So I would kind of go by that anniversary. It's like, oh, we haven't played in a year. Oh my god! And I've been playing like nonstop since '86.
Yeah, you know what? We're going to get into that. In fact, you have an incredible discography and have played in so many great bands, some of which I was unaware of when we spoke a few years ago. So I was hoping we could revisit some of this. And here's how I want to start. You've written so many songs, great songs, many different genres. When did you start writing? And was songwriting something that came easy to you when you were younger? That's what I want to know. That's what
Okay.
we want to know, Lynda Mandolyn.
Okay. Well, just to let the listeners know, I'm originally from Detroit, Michigan, and I put out an ad when I was 15 years old looking for an all-female band. So the next day, I got a call from a girl named Karen Neal who lived in Rochester. I lived in Royal Oak, just outside Detroit there. And she was into it. She was more into like the punk rock stuff. She loved the Dead Kennedys and stuff like that. But together, her and I made an incredible team. I was a little bit more poppy, I was raised on the Go Go's and Beatles and R&B, especially Motown.
Mhm.
Um, so just together, we wrote some really interesting songs for being people of such a young age. We found an incredible drummer who was 21, and we let her in the band because she could buy beer. But I swear to God, the girl sounds just like Mitch Mitchell of Jimi Hendrix.
Ooh.
I mean, she was that good. Kathy, and we're all dear friends to this day. The first time I wrote a song, I was 15. It came easy to me. The song was called I Know. We played it in my first band, and
Was this Inside Out?
Inside Out,
Yeah.
yes, Detroit. So Inside Out were a three-piece all-female band. We were both rock, punk, pop, thrash, a little shoegazy towards the end. We were one of the first female bands to play Eastern Europe after the wall came down.
Wow.
We did
That's
a John,
cool.
yeah, yeah. We did a John Peel session. I was 22, so we did 4 songs there, which was an amazing experience. And we were inducted into the Detroit Music Rock and Roll Hall of Fame when I was 23.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Now this was around 85 Inside Out started?
86.
86.
86, yep. And we did the bulk of our touring. We did 2 huge European tours in the early 90s. So we kind of came in that wave of what they called Foxcore, L7, Hole, all those bands
Good
coming up.
company.
Yeah.
Um, was there music that you heard when you were growing up outside of Detroit? Royal Oak, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
when you're growing up in Royal Oak, was there music that you were hearing? You mentioned Motown before that inspired you with your writing, or did you find your influences
Oh,
because punk had already broken around that time, so you already had the late 70s behind you?
sure. And I was really young, in the late 70s, so I didn't know punk rock then. But I have 4 older brothers, and 2 were really into rock and roll. My oldest brother went to the Grandy Ballroom, so he saw all the greats: Iggy, Bob Seger, the Amboy Dukes.
The Detroit Greats.
Yeah, before I was born, and he was 19 years older than me, but he got me into the rock and roll. He bought me a copy of the White Album when I was 5. My mom didn't like that because of the photos and the naked John and Yoko. Um, and then my other brother, who was a huge influence, he loved disco and R&B. He got me into Motown. And then my parents were older, so they were more into Tony Bennett and Liberace and stuff like that. So I had a plethora of musical styles growing up. My dad was one of 5, no, 6 boys that played instruments and were multi instrumentalists. So it runs in my family.
You
So
mentioned your brother saw, all those great bands. Well, even the Amboy Dukes.
yeah, I
Sorry
know
what happened. Sorry what happened to Ted since then, but they were a good band.
they were great.
Who were some of the first bands that you remember seeing?
Well, I really didn't get out to concerts until I was 13. So my first concert was,
13.
yeah.
You got a late start, 13.
I did. Um, yeah, my first show was A Flock of Seagulls and the Go-Go's
Wow.
at Pine Knob. Um, my second show was Asia with John Wetton. He was my first like manly man crush.
Oh
I
yeah.
thought like, oh my,
John Wetton, he was really
whoa,
good in King Crimson. Yeah.
before my time, but Asia, yes, yeah,
Steve Howe was the guitar player of Asia, right?
yeah,
From Yes. Yeah, I
yeah,
remember.
yeah. Jeff Downs and Carl Palmer.
Well, actually, I would kind of expect that from you. You kind of have you
Oh,
go
their first album is great. You can't deny it.
you go in a lot of different directions, which we'll get into more. So I'm not that surprised. Flock of Seagulls, so New Wave and then Asia. Anything else that you remember from that era
Oh, gee.
that you
Tan-
saw live that could have influenced you at all?
oh, sure. Tangerine Dream, uh,
Wow.
experimental German.
Y-
Gosh, for big rock concerts, I've seen so many. Duran Duran, Culture Club, like early when I was a kid. But in '86, so I was 16. That's when I really started to go to shows, and my musical world, it shrunk, yet it exploded because we were playing shows. I mean, I was a pro by 19, like playing in bars, drinking some beers on stage. It's just, I don't know. It was such a amazing time, I see kids like going out to the beach now and like, camping and stuff like that. And my entire teens and 20s were spent honing my craft,
Rock and roll.
in rock and roll. Yeah.
It's awesome. Now, you mentioned Inside Out went to Europe. Did you tour in the States a lot?
No, no. Inside
That's
Out.
weird.
Yeah, yeah. We did a lot of Michigan, a lot of Midwest. We went to New York when I was 18. And that was the first time I was out of the state of Michigan. I loved it because my parents never traveled ever. So that was an eye opener too. And I'm just like, this is what I want to do. I want to play, I want to travel. And I've just been to so many different countries and it's amazing.
Now, you mentioned last time, after Inside Out was the only band in Detroit, right?
Yes, and there was a brief band called Loomer, which was a shoegaze band.
Loomer,
Yep, and
right?
we moved out to San Francisco, and that's where I met the folks from Fabulous
You,
Disaster.
you mentioned the last time that a bandmate moved out to San Francisco and you followed her. Was that Karen?
No,
It
no, I
was,
didn't follow. I left.
oh, I thought you knew someone. I thought in the last interview you said that you went out there because someone else was going. That's not,
Well, it was my bandmate in Loomer. She got a job there, but we were in the Bay Area. So we were already talking about moving. It was going to be the Bay Area or New York. And so when she got this job offer, we're like, yeah, we have to go.
yeah, that's what you said.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
How long after you were in San Francisco did you start playing in a band? And who was the first? Was it Piston?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
Piston. So and that was one of the only times I answered a musical ad. Usually I start bands. But I saw their ad and I'm like, this is really cool. It was like, rock punk band looking for a bass player. And I'm like, well, I'm a pretty decent bass player, so I'll call him up. And so I went there and I just met the most amazing cast of colorful characters. Jimmy Crucifix, who is the guitar player, and then my dear friend Sally Disaster, who was with me in Fabulous Disaster. So, and we got Laura as the singer, and Jimmy wrote a lot of the songs. He wrote most of the songs, but the songs were great. They were just so catchy and fun and fast paced. Um, but we wanted to kind of branch out and form like an all girl thing again. So we found Mr. Nancy, bassist. I went back to guitar, and in 2000 we were signed to Fat Records, Pink and Black Records.
Pretty
Yeah.
Killers came out before that, right?
Yes, yes, that was the first Fabulous Disaster record.
Your role changed a lot as that band went along, pretty
Yeah,
much.
Fabulous Disaster, sure. Um, when we were on Fat, I was the guitarist and uh, I sang lead too, and I did backup, harmonies. Wrote all the harmonies, and then we switched. Our singer left, Mr. Nancy left, and we got a new guitar player and bassist, and I switched to the lead vocal, which I enjoyed immensely. And it was just great getting up there dancing and hard work. It's not easy.
Yeah, you guys have a good catalog. I've been listening to Fabulous Disaster a lot. I love that band. And in fact, I think it was 2001. I don't know if my notes are right here. You guys were the San Francisco Weekly Best Punk Band of the Year. That's quite an honor to get in San Francisco.
We sure were, and we were on tour at that time. So we had Sally's girlfriend at the time accept the award for us
Oh, so
because,
you weren't there.
yeah,
Okay.
we were in, oh my gosh, Winnipeg. We were like in one of those northern Canadian cities. I remember that the place was like a major dump, sleeping in like a flop house upstairs. But like the show was great, right? But those type of clubs. Um, so yeah, that was really great, and we were up against a lot of great acts at that time. I mean, San Francisco, I mean, it was really exploding with great music, 95 through I was there from 95 to 2012.
14.
2012.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, you mentioned touring a lot. And for people out there that don't know this, I know this because I've worked with bands and stuff for years, but you slept on a lot of floors and stuff, didn't you?
In the beginning, yes and no. Yes and no. After a certain point, we would refuse and we would demand hotel rooms.
That
So,
was until Fabulous Disaster, though, right?
right, but the first Fab D tour before we were in Fat, there were some floors sleeping on, and I'm like, can't be doing this anymore.
And what about travel? Was it a van?
Yeah, yeah, there were different bands. In Europe, they have a great cargo travel passenger van called the Highway Tiger. So it can have high ceilings. Um, it just depends on what you get. And we were really lucky to get great drivers who did a lot of the drivers did merch and a little bit of roadieing, but did all the driving.
Is this Europe you're talking about now? Yeah,
Yeah.
because in the touring in the US, it's not as luxurious as Europe.
No, that's do it yourself.
Did you guys even have a roadie?
Yes, on our first tour of America, Fabulous Disaster had a roadie and a merch person. When we went out with Propagandhi, Avail, and Jay Church, and that was one of my favorites. One of my favorite.
Yeah, wow, I forgot about them. They were cool.
Yes, yeah, great. And then we did a full scale tour of Canada. So we did 10,000 miles in 1 month. And then after that, we did 10 days in Japan with the Dickies.
Wow.
Yeah, that was one of my.
Minnie, Mo, and Jack, you know what are after. When I lived in LA and I moved out there at the end of '83, you would hear there was the Manny Mo and Jack, whatever the store was, and you'd hear that song all the time. Wow, touring with the Dickies, that must have been a trip.
Yeah. It was much fun though. And Japan is probably one of my favorite countries. Favorite countries have to be Japan, Finland, and Spain. I mean, always a great rock, and Germany, of course. Always great rock crowd. They are really into it. The Japanese, what's different about Japanese culture is, they're really like revved, ready to go. They're going crazy while you're playing your set, and they clap afterwards. And if you're speaking to them, everybody's quiet because they want to hear what you say, whether they understand or not. That's just a form of respect, and it's lovely.
So many bands have broke in Japan, like the Runaways, I mean,
Oh
I
yeah, of
imagine you're a fan of the Runaways. I
course.
mean, Cheap Trick was really big out in Asia before it's amazing the people I've never been to Asia, I wish. Um, so Japan was one of your favorite places. What about in the States? Where did you like playing in the States besides Detroit, obviously, which is Detroit Rock City?
Course. Um, there were a lot of good places. I'm trying to think. We also did a U.S. tour with the Briefs. I think we talked about that last time, and
Yeah.
they're one of my favorites too. Such great songwriters. Um, Austin was always really cool. Like when we play emos, LA, could be really cool. We did the Honda Theater with No Effects a few times, and played many shows. Played a great show there down there with a legendary punk band called The Crowd, and they're one of
Wow.
my favorites. Yeah, they're great. So many, Steve.
You've done it all.
Yeah,
You
I've
know what
played.
I wanted to ask you? I knew Tsunami Bomb was from your neck of the woods. I love Emily. She's been on the show. Did you ever play with Tsunami Bomb?
Um, I think we did early on. I can't remember, but love them too. I mean, they were great. I can't remember what record label they were on. It
They
might have
were on
been.
several labels.
Yeah, yeah,
And I
okay.
think they might have come along closer to probably in the middle of Fabulous Disaster. I think they were a few years after you.
Oh, it was kind of around
Close.
close. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Because we were 98 to about 2009. So we were together a while. Um, but yeah, they were great too. And we love the Epoxies. Do you remember them?
Yes.
Yeah,
You played
yeah,
with everyone.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Great.
I know that Fabulous Disaster did some kind of a reunion tour
Yeah.
much later than that. What happened? Love at First Fight 2007. I think that was the last record, right?
Yes.
What happened? Did you just run its course?
It just kind of ran its course. Yep. Loved all the people. It just became, you just kind of know when something is, you know, uh, kaput. There was a
With,
little tension in the band, and it was a different lineup, and we did a quick reunion show after that with all the original members, and that went really good. We played with the Angry Samoans. Do you remember them?
wow,
They're
yeah.
great. I
Greg's been on
love
my
them.
show too. Greg Turner. Love
Oh,
him.
yeah. And that went really well. And so when we did the reunion in Europe in 2014, it was all original members. And that is my favorite era
It's
line.
on YouTube.
Yeah,
Yeah, I watched it.
yeah. Okay,
It's really good, really good. Um, got to talk about Trixie Delicious for a minute, right?
sure.
Well, I didn't know about Sassy until you gave me you gave me a CD, and I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. Was that right after there was Emulsion too? I don't know if that was before, during, or
Oh, yeah. Emulsion was very short-lived. My husband Serge and I did an experimental album, which is I love it. I mean, it's one of my favorites. But back then the internet was just starting out, and so we didn't really have the means to hype it like you do, on the internet now. And we ran a record label called Evil Eye Records. So, we put out some interesting releases on
you
that.
you always have more than one thing going on at the same. You're unbelievable, man. Your track record is sick, in a good way. So Sassy,
Yeah.
you and it was one other woman, right?
Kitty Largewood. Yes.
Kitty Largewood, and you put two records out.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought the songs are great. We kind of came about from another band called Girl Band, who had a really great cult following in San Francisco. Like people just, loved us, and we had a great stage presence. Our lead singer, guitarist Shelly, like she had a way, with the audience and just cracked me up. I mean,
So
just
this was before Sassy.
yeah, yes.
Oh, okay.
Girl Band has one release out called Girl Band.
Oh,
Um,
okay. There you go. You're doing it to me again.
yeah.
You're doing it to me again.
Well, there's so many girl bands out there, like guys that are called girl band and stuff. So we
You
kind of
just
lost
you
in the shuffle.
Your discography's big enough already, and now you're adding to it. Well, wait till we get to the current situation out here.
Yeah.
Um, was Sorry ever after the last band that you played with in San Francisco before moving to Portland?
Yes. Yeah.
No,
Um,
you go ahead. Sorry.
that's okay. It was a hard era for me. My mom passed away in 2011, and
Sorry.
yeah, thank you. Very, very difficult. In a way, it was great because it got me, the whole getting into another band, which I really didn't want to do at the time, and still playing with Sassy. That year for passing, I wrote 18 songs, and I kind of just had a blowout, just like, whoa. And most of them were really, good songs that I've played in other bands. One is Constellations that Tiger Bomb plays, which is a Tiger Bomb song through and through. Um, that was difficult. And then the next year, I moved all the way across the country to Maine and start over.
Yeah, you had mentioned to me when we spoke last time on the show that you moved to Portland thinking you were giving up music. I re-listened to our talk conversation. That's why I remember this, or at least taking a break. Then you got the itch, and now look at where we are 10 years later, 12 years later. How do you feel about what you accomplished since moving here?
Oh, I mean, it's been the best decision really of a lifetime, you know. I'm just, to me, I'm in two of the best bands of my career, Tiger Bomb and Crystal Canyon. Um, I met Chris. We figured it out. I think Tiger Bomb has been together now 10 years. So we got together in 2013, I think. Yeah, I was like, I'm not playing music. I'm just done. And then I got the itch and did a couple of songs under the moniker Wild Butterflies. Put
Mm,
that out. And there was a fan locally. His name was Richie Rotten.
you
And
mentioned him last time,
yeah,
yeah.
who got Chris and I together. So she came over and we're like, hey, let's just play, some songs and see if our songs fit together. And they did. And Chris is an amazing, rock, garage rock legend. Um,
I was going to ask you if you ever
Worldwide.
played with the Brood or saw the Brood.
No, no. Um, we knew friends that knew some members of the Brood, and I knew of them from a German import that I had on colored vinyl with a bunch of other female bands
Ooh.
from probably the late 80s, I think it came out. And, I'm always like, I knew of the Brood, and I'm like, oh, yeah, the Brood, they're in Portland, Maine. I have to like see if I can, hook up with one of them. They're amazing,
So did you have that in your head before Richie introduced you to
A
Chris?
little bit, a little bit. I was hoping, but I didn't know how to reach her, or them, because they had broken up. And one winter night, I think it was 2000, maybe 13. Yeah, one winter night, I went to the Bayside Bowl, walked in, and I saw this cool chick with sunglasses playing a guitar. And I'm like, pretty cool, kind of reminds me of the Paybacks or something, like just like
Oh, I love the
great.
paybacks.
Great, me too. Great attitude, great look, kind of like that Chrissy Hine, Joey Ramone look. And I find out later it was Chris, and I'm like, she was in a band called the Flip Sides,
Yes, I
and
remember them.
like, whoa, so cool. And then about a month later, Richie Rotten's like, hey, you got to meet. So we met, so it was bound to happen.
We can go back to Tiger Bomb in a minute, but I have to ask you, do you know Wendy?
Yes, yeah.
I love her.
I do too. I do too. Those first two Payback records are gold.
Amazing.
Yeah, especially that first one is my favorite.
Yeah, I got to see them several times and I met Wendy and the whole band and they were cool. And
Yeah.
love that band. There's so many good bands from Detroit though. Oh my God.
Mhm.
Um, So we'll stick with Tiger Bomb for a second, but I don't want to forget about Crystal Canyon because I know you went on tour and I want to ask you about that. So you have two albums and two EPs with Tiger Bomb, right? Two albums and two EPs, right?
Yeah, yeah, two albums, vinyl, like official releases, and then two EPs on Bandcamp. Yes,
Yeah. So what's going on now? Are you guys going to do some more recording?
we did. We have 15 songs in the can.
No way.
So it's in New York, getting mastered at a place called the Lodge, which is an all-female mastering company, and they're
Nice.
amazing. Her name is Emily. She's won Grammys. I mean, she's great, and this is her second Tiger Bomb album that she's mastered. We recorded and mixed with Alice Anderson and Todd Hutchinson
From
at
Crystal Canyon. Yeah.
Acadia Recording Company here in Portland.
He's
Um,
good.
he's great. I love him. He's amazing.
So you have a new Tiger Bomb album. And
Coming
what's
out.
the status? When do you think that'll be out?
Well, in Tiger Bomb time, we'll see. But it is all ready. So we're kind of solidifying a title and like a theme for all the artwork, you know. But we should have a record coming out on Rock Garden Records. That's still being negotiated. Um, so a lot of and a lot of shows coming up in September, October, especially. A couple shows with the Nervous Eaters. Um, a really cool garage band in October at Geno's called the Wild Goons. Check them out. They're great. I'll send you the name
Where are
afterwards.
they from?
I can't remember. I think I want to say Chicago, but I'm not sure. But they're amazing.
Lynda Mandolyn's like an encyclopedia of bands. Is the new record kind of following the same suit where you guys split, you write some songs, she writes
Yeah.
some songs. I love that about you guys. You have two different songwriters and you mix the songs in so well with each
Thank you.
other.
Thank you. Thank you. I think this is our best one yet. So I think you're gonna really, really love it.
Well, I love all your other stuff, so I'm sure I'm going to. I wish Tiger Bomb could figure out how to get out there and play in more cities, you know? That's the only thing that band hasn't done that's holding them back, holding you back, I
Well,
think.
thank you. If we could get on, everybody works too. I mean, it's kind of hard to
Yeah.
be a touring band in 2024, right? But if we could get on with a bigger band, like that would be great. It's just so hard to do the DIY tours.
I'm glad you brought that up because I know you have your own business. And, people have misconceptions out there that aren't in the business. They think, oh, they're in a band. That's all they do. Every band I know these days has a job too. It's really difficult to make a living. How do you balance that?
Well, I'm fortunate enough. I have a Reiki practice here in my home. It's part-time, but it's been a amazing experience. It's been life-changing. And I also volunteer at the Dempsey Center. It's a cancer treatment center in Portland,
That's
and
awesome.
and I've met some incredible people through that. Um, yeah, just the balance is great, and you just I don't know. You gotta enjoy life, especially as you get older.
We've
So
learned that in the last few years, haven't we?
yes.
Okay, so be speaking of balancing acts, Crystal Canyon, Tiger Bomb. Do you rehearse with both bands regularly?
No, when we first started out, yes. Crystal Canyon has become more of a studio band. We did a short tour back in November, which I had a blast. It was a DIY tour. We hit Detroit, we hit Indianapolis, Chicago. We did a performance of the Chicago Music Exchange, which just came out maybe a month and a half ago, and they did an amazing job. And the band, they're some of the best musicians. They are the best
No
musicians.
one sounds like Crystal Canyon. You guys have your own sound. And I was talking to Anthony Kaczynski, who's a mutual friend of ours, about this. I'm gonna bring him up later because you guys co-wrote something together. But he was telling me that he's never seen the the pedals and the setup that Crystal Canyon uses. It's like sound. You don't even know what you're hearing, but it's
Right?
beautiful.
Yes, yes. Thank you. Yeah, and for a long time, I also played guitar and did a lot of, I had my pedal board but I wanted to focus more on the vocal aspect. So our last album, which I think,
Stars in Distant Light.
yes, is
One
our
of
best.
my top albums of the year. Judy Moody was one of my top songs of the year on my chart. You
Thank
know
you.
that already, probably.
Yes, of course. Thank you, Steve.
I love, I
Yes,
love
you're the
you. Are
best.
you are in some of the greatest bands ever. I'm telling you, Crystal Canyon. I'll never forget when I listened to that self-titled one, the first one. I was like, this is mind-blowing. Okay, okay, no, don't screw up again. Turn Blue. I
Yes.
got it
Yes.
right. In the last show, I kept saying True Blue.
Oh, True Blue. Right. Turn Blue.
That's on the
Actually,
second album,
that's
right?
on the second album.
Yeah. See
Oh,
what I mean? I love all your records. They're really, really good. And the sound, and you guys call it shoegaze, but it's so much more than that. It's like a psychedelic, mind-blowing experience.
thank you so much. Yeah, thanks. And we also made what was it? We came in 15 out of 100 albums of the year on Big Takeover magazine.
Oh,
So
wow.
that was
Jack,
yes, he's a big Crystal Canyon fan, and we
Jack Rabbit, one of the
yes,
legends.
yes. Oh yeah, we've talked, and he loves Crystal Canyon.
Got good taste. I mean, this is a band that I feel like could go on a world tour, really. I mean, the music is universal,
If
international.
yeah, if again, if we could get on with a huge band, it would be so great. There was and still is a little problem with me wearing inner ear monitors right now. For the past couple of years, I've suffered with migraine headaches.
Ouch.
Yeah, and it became difficult to play with Crystal Canyon in a live setting, at least for now, with the inner ear because everything is very sonic and very
It's a
loud.
wall of sound.
Yeah, yeah. Whereas with Tiger Bomb, I mean, I wear musician earplugs, and I really encourage everyone to seek that out, especially as you get older, because your hearing is so precious, right? And it's you have to protect your hearing. I talked to people at the show last time, like, "Hey, you wearing earplugs?" Just like to make conversation. No, I really should, and I'm like, "Duh,
Yeah,
yeah."
I have the noise happening here and there. It just shows up out of nowhere, and it's like, what is going on? Please go away. But
Right.
it's
Yeah. Some
when
people
you
have it 24/7. I
oh,
mean,
it's horrible. Roger Miller was
yeah,
on the show, and we talked about that a bit from Mission of Burma because he suffered for that for years. I didn't realize it, but he was suffering from it before Mission of Burma, which
yeah,
is amazing because then yeah, these bands, they're like Crystal Canyon where you have to have a loud, it's got to be loud. Like when I
yeah.
put my Crystal Canyon vinyl on, I got to turn it up, man. You got to listen to it. I mean,
Loud. We love it loud.
did you, you said you do Reiki. Did I say it right? Right, Reiki.
Reiki. Yeah,
That's a
Reiki.
very spiritual kind of alternative medicine. Did your hearing situation have something to do with you getting more like, or have you always been very spiritual like that?
Oh, well, I don't know. I'm not sure.
It's a
It's
weird question. I know. I'm good for
yeah,
one weird question.
no, that's okay. It's I call it energy work. So it's I was introduced to Reiki by a Reiki master in California in the early 2000s, and he's like, "Hey, have you ever had Reiki?" And I'm like, "That," like I was very skeptical, and he gave me a treatment the first time. I didn't really understand it, and then he gave me one the second time, and Steve, my whole body lit up. I had bad circulation in my hands and feet. It went away. I felt warm, like my body felt warm the entire night. It was kind of a life changer. So when I moved to Portland, I wanted to seek out how to do this and to understand it more. I went to University of Southern Maine, and I got a minor in holistic health over the last few years while doing all these bands.
Wow, you're
Um,
amazing.
and it's so rewarding, just and people will come in if they haven't had it. They're very interested, um, and some are skeptical, but every time someone gets off the table, they're convinced. They're convinced.
I know we've talked about this before, and I need to do this. I really do. I'm going to one of these days, I swear.
Yes, yeah, you would love it.
Um, before we talk about all your solo stuff, which is why you're here, I
Yeah.
know we took the long route. You and Lee Harrington did a couple singles together. Was that okay? Before we get into that, I want to, we have to talk about this for a second because we met formally through Justine Koval. I knew who you were, but it was Justine that said, "Hey, you should talk to Lynda." And I know you played at the benefit show in Somerville because I was there, Crystal Ballroom.
Yeah.
Can you just talk about your relationship with Justine for us for a couple of minutes?
Sure. Sure. Getting teary eyed. Um, she was one of a kind, I'll tell you. I have not met a juggernaut as fabulous as her. She made me feel included. She made everyone feel included. She she built this beautiful music community. She worked 24/7. She had, a full-time job. She was a mother. She was a musician. She was in two bands. She was running a record label. Um, we were dear friends, dear, dear friends. At the end of every message was, I love you. I love you, darling. I love you. Um, so I was with her at her last, CD release show and played the cowbell, had a great time. Sorry. um, and something just moved me to go over to her, and I hugged her so tight and I kissed her on the cheek and I said, I love you. And she said, I love you too. And that was the last time. So
Trying to make me cry?
I know. Just I can't tell you the what she meant to me. And she still does. I mean, she guides me, I know it. She guides a lot of us. But her time on earth was not wasted. Um, you
No.
she was just an incredible human being with such a huge heart and just such a love of music, just such a music lover, a great songwriter, just mind blowing. Just love her so much. Love the band, always love going down to Boston to be with her, play with her. Always kept in touch. And that is sorely missed right now. That is sorely missed,
Yeah.
you know?
That night was fantastic. I'm so happy I was there to experience everything that I experienced at that show. It was just a really good vibe in the room.
Yeah.
Really good
City release
vibe.
party, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yep. Yeah, it was great. Spiller played and Barron's. That
Oh
was a
no, I'm sorry. I was talking about the benefit show at the
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
Crystal Ballroom.
Yes. Oh, yeah, it was so fun. So fun.
Yeah, the vibe was just so good,
Yeah.
And then
Uh,
Minahan played.
yeah, and the bags. Come
Yeah,
on.
oh yeah, the bat. Well, yeah, yeah. That was the whole thing was great. Um, well, thanks for mentioning that because I mean, she's missed by so many people. It's funny when you think about while you were in Detroit and you're doing Inside Out. Not inside, yeah, Inside Out.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, sorry. She was, you got me a little rattled here. She was playing in Malachite, which is an all
Yes.
women band. You guys have like mirrored each other from a distance and you didn't even know it. So it doesn't surprise me that you
Yeah.
became close friends.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Miss her dearly. And just so many great people I met through her, you and like all the Whistle Stop Rock chicks and just everybody, it's great.
You seem to fit really nicely, even though you're in Portland, you kind of got right into that Boston music scene and kind of fit right in with everyone.
Yeah. Oh,
You're
thank you.
cool. And
I
the
love
thing, yeah, the thing with Lee, do you ever talk to Lee anymore about doing anything else together, or are you too busy with all these other bands?
right. We've chatted about it. We just, we got to do it. He's busy. Doing the Shanghai Lows. They got a new record coming out.
Yeah.
They're always amazing. All the members. I love them. You know, they're just one of the best bands. I know he's busy doing that. I think we will at some point. I just don't know. But I we were talking the other day, and I said I am so honored to be part of Real Love. That's one of the best pop punk songs of, I don't know, forever. I heard he sent me the demo, and I said I must be a part of this. I have to.
Yeah, you
Like,
guys
stop me.
nail that.
Yeah, stop me in my tracks. That's how good it was.
Okay, solo. You started doing solo stuff up here in 2020. Be All Right and Portal to Your Heart. You did those songs. And then in April, excuse me if I say it wrong, Belay Do? Belay Do?
Billet doux.
Be,
Billet
I
doux.
can't say that.
Billet doux.
So you could, it's a really good song. I listen to it all the time. In fact, it'll be on the show. You co-wrote that with Tony Kaczynski?
Well, he helped me with some chords. I already had the structure. I had he had come over one time, and I said, hey, we were thinking about maybe doing something, and both of us being in a zillion bands. Um, I said I have this idea for a song, and I had all the parts, but I was having a hard time coming up with a couple of chords for the verse. So he helped me with a couple of chords, and I wanted to give him credit,
That
and
was
then,
nice of you because I think it says co-written somewhere. I must have saw that somewhere.
well, I put on Bandcamp, like music, Linda and Anthony.
Yeah.
And so yeah,
Did
yeah.
you guys know each other in Detroit?
No. But when I was 12, I went to a Figures on a Beach autograph signing party,
You
and
did?
they pulled up in a limo at Sam's Jams record store in Ferndale. And Tony and I always uh, laugh about this. He told me, he goes, Linda, you know what? When the limo dropped us off, it broke down at the corner. I just love that. I'm like, oh, he's like, that was a record label idea. And I'm like, I get it. But they were great. And, Smitty, he was great. Just they were so big, like in the early 80s in
They
Detroit.
just missed it.
Yeah, yeah. And then they moved to Boston, but they're doing their thing now. So yeah.
Okay, I got to go back for a second because you mentioned Ferndale. So you reminded me that I stayed at Troy's house there, and I didn't ask you what it was like seeing Troy
Oh,
Gregory in Detroit with Crystal Canyon.
Troy is like, I love him so much. I mean,
Me
talk
too.
about the real deal. Go see Troy Gregory live on his Rickenbacker bass. He blew everybody's head off when Crystal Canyon played at the Outer Limits with him. And I asked him, I said, Troy, would you please? It would be my honor for you to be on the bill. He's like, absolutely. And so, I think he had like a younger band, and they were all like, in sync with him because his stuff is not easy. No way.
I'm pretty sure most of those guys were at his School of Rock thing, and that's how we found those guys.
That's amazing.
Because he had
Oh my
Super
God.
Birthday. I went and saw Super Birthday when I was in Detroit. This must have been around 2018 or so. And
Yeah.
those, and he had the same young guys, and they were great. He had some
Oh,
really good guys.
that's awesome. Yep. Yeah, and they were amazing. Troy was one of my, heroes from the scene back in the day, and then my dear friend Keir McDonald, who put out two amazing shoegazy, bliss poppy, psychedelic albums in the '90s. They were called Medusa Cyclone,
Yeah.
and so he's been kind of a recluse, and him and I are very close. And he did a record label with my deceased one of my best friends. We went out many years ago, Chris Gerard, and they were doing music for a long time, and they formed a label called Manta Ray Fleet, which Kira's kind of revived, and which my solo stuff is on.
Nice.
Yeah, and um, so I got Kier to come out of retirement, and opened the show with Matt Smith, who has played with
Outrageous Cherry, Matt Smith. Whoa,
yes,
that's a
and
heavy.
yes, and who else did he? Oh God, he played in the Volbeats.
Yeah, Volbeats. Yeah, plus he's a great engineer. I mean, the guys in Detroit, him, Jim Diamond and him, those guys are
Oh yeah,
unbelievable, man.
yes, yeah. So yeah, Matt was with Kira. That was a great set, and then Troy. I mean, and
Talk about an all-star Detroit night. Wow.
it was great. It was so. I cried at the end. I was like walking around hugging people and crying. I mean, like all my buddies came out, and I hadn't seen people in a while, and I'm like, yep, we all get older.
And some of us don't age, Linda.
Oh, I have for sure. But
Um,
like we said, we have to enjoy life, right? So that's what I'm doing.
you got a new single coming out on July 19th, Little Dreamer.
Little Dreamer, yes. It's the first cover song that I'll be releasing in my entire life because that's how much I believe in this band. Um, they're from LA. They're called Birthday Girls. The first I heard of them was I was watching. Do you remember that series that came out? I think it was on Netflix last year. Wednesday. Like
I
Wednesday.
heard about it. Yeah, I
Afternoon.
heard of it.
Um, so there was a scene before the famous Cramps dance scene. They
Yeah,
kind of single handedly like revamped the Cramps, career again.
they did.
So there's a scene where they're pulling up to the dance, and behind it is playing this ominous music with this beautiful melody, and that stopped me in my tracks, and I'm like, who is this? It sounded like Julie Cruz. It sounded like David Lynch. I'm like, Lynch in here? And it took me forever to look it up, and they weren't anywhere. They're like a ghost, right? Sometimes they're called Some Birthday Girls and Birthday Girls. So that song was called Secrets, and I loved it. But then I tried to dig a little deeper, and I found Little Dreamer, and I'm like, I have to do this.
Do they know about this?
They're gonna. Yes, I do I want to write them, but I got permission through, you can get permission through a streaming service, right? To get the rights. And I won't release a video, but I want to release the song. I
Yeah,
mean,
they're going to get the publishing on it, so it'll be good for them, you know?
yeah, yeah. And they are just five-star musicians. I mean, just beautiful vocals, arrangement. And both these songs, Be Do and Little Dreamer, Justine was supposed to release. So, on top of that, I just got out of the studio with my friend Shauna Carmody. She's in the Swirlies. She's amazing.
I have a
No,
Swirlies poster on my wall.
I didn't realize that.
If
Oh
you
my
if you're
God.
listening out there, people, you'll have to go on YouTube to check it out because I do have that is a really cool coincidence, I have to tell you.
Whoa. I saw her last night.
Wow, yeah, Swirlies are like one of the coolest bands ever to come out
Oh
of
yeah.
Boston.
Yes, yes. So she was part of the early shoegaze scene in the 90s, and um a couple of years ago she was in a excellent band called Night Spell. And
Yeah.
Justine released a couple of singles, right? On Red. And that's where I put the connection together. And Shauna and I talked at a Justine show in Rhode Island, right coming out of the pandemic. So fast forward, Justine and I were having a email conversation. She had heard my 60s girl group cover, that I sent her the demo, and she loved it. And a couple weeks later, she's like, Linda, I want to do a 60s girl group song with you. And I said, let's do it, right? And so that song was I Love How You Love Me by the Paris Sisters.
Wow.
Yep. So she wrote down her original notes, sent them to me, obviously we didn't get to do it. So I'm honoring her by doing that song, by recording it. I got Shauna with me to play guitar, and she was one of Justine's favorites too.
Wow. That is
Just
so nice.
yeah, and Jessica, my drummer in Tiger Bomb, she plays drums. I got an amazing multi instrumentalist, Kate B from Portland. She's playing an old '70s, um, one of the first like keyboard, like weird like synthy keyboards. It's a Kumar, I think. I'm
Really?
not really up on on that brand, but it was at Acadia Recording Company. We're like, yeah, let's do it. So she played that, and then husband Serge played bass, and Shauna and I did uh, the vocals, and hopefully that should be out sometime in the fall.
Wow, that's a scoop. I didn't expect that. I was going to ask you what's up your sleeve next, and you beat me to it.
That's it.
Um, I'm a huge fan of your work and everything you've been doing, and I just hope you keep doing it because you're incredible.
Thank you, Steve.
I don't know
That
what
means
else to
a lot to
say.
me. Thank you so much. And you are incredible by getting so many cool people on your podcast. It's mind blowing. You're really building your plethora of amazing, artists. It's great.
And
I
you've joined a special club because this is your third time on the show. Because you were on with Tiger with Chris too. So
yes.
you're in the high level club. I just made that up. I don't even know what that is. But thanks,
Thank
Linda.
thank you, Steve. Nice to